What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about on a daily basis, including money, investing, the stock market, the fourth stimulus package update, and stimulus check update. We have new $600 and $1,000 proposals here for fourth stimulus checks here on the federal level for everybody. And we have multiple different states that have now passed stimulus checks and multiple different states that have are working on stimulus checks on the state levels. If you've been watching my channel here, we have probably at least a dozen or more states that have passed stimulus checks or tax rebate checks, pretty much the same thing on the state level. I've been trying to keep you guys up to date here with as many states as I can. Remember that each state got over a billion or billions of dollars, depending on the state's population. But pretty much each state got billions of dollars of money from the last stimulus package. And each state pretty much has lots of money coming in because people are going back to work, unemployment is low, and tax dollars are coming in. The same thing with the federal government. President Biden said here that the U.S. government is actually going to be able to potentially, this is what Biden says, we'll see if it happens, that they're going to have a $1.5 trillion surplus over the next 12 months coming in because of tax revenues, because they're actually taking in more money now than going out, which is unprecedented. This does not happen very often. This is exactly what states are seeing here as well. This is why a lot of states are giving money back. You look at like California has, let's see here, according to California Matters, um, behind Newsom's $301 billion budget, and they have a $97.5 billion surplus. Surplus means extra money on top of their budget. Now, remember, just a few years ago, California was running negative, That means that they too were running a deficit. Same thing with the federal government. Now, at least Biden says whether or not, this will actually happen. But Biden says, as you can see here, that they're going to be able to pay down $1.5 trillion of budget deficit reduction over the next year here, because the government, for the first time in pretty much ever, is taking in lots more money than they're spending. But this also means they have more money for, to spend on people in need, government programs, all sorts of things here. And this is exactly what we're seeing in states here. Just recently, if you watched my previous video, I just did multiple different states that have passed $500, $1,000 stimulus checks. I'll link you to that video here at the end of this video. But this is really what you can see here, right here from Yahoo News. States and cities are the new source of pandemic stimulus. Is money available where you live? Because if you've been watching my channel here, almost every week, we have states passing state stimulus checks, state stimulus packages, which pretty much includes stimulus checks or tax rebate checks, which is pretty much the same thing. Remember that the federal stimulus checks are considered tax rebate checks. And some states are also doing other things like grocery tax, pausing or getting rid of their grocery tax, gas tax, where they're getting rid of their gas tax or state gas tax, property tax checks, property tax rebates, all sorts of potential other things as well. Here's a couple states here in the news right now. Check this out. And then we'll get to federal stimulus checks here also. The state of Washington State, not Washington, D.C., the GOP Senate leader, that's the Republican leader for the state, renews push for gas tax relief As the price of the pump continues to rise, so does the state's revenue projections. Remember, this is pretty much what I've been saying here. The state's incomes are going up. They're taking in more and more money, just it's pretty much the same thing as the federal government here. As people are going back to work, unemployment's going down. All these governments, state governments and the federal government, they're taking in more money. As the price of the pump on Tuesday, the average price for a gallon of gas in the Seattle metro area was up another 6 cents compared to the day earlier, 24 cents from a week ago, and soaring 37 cents since last month. Meanwhile, the price of a gallon or the price of a barrel of oil has not changed that much. It's relatively about the same, but yet the price of gas is going up. Figure that one out. It makes no sense. Yeah, that price, $5.22 a gallon, another record high. Gas prices have crossed $4 a gallon for regular in every state for the first time ever. For the first time ever. Yeah, unbelievable. Unbelievable. And the Dow Jones plunged nearly 1,200 points yesterday. Dow Jones Stock Index has yeah, looked like we might have been near bottom. We had multiple days of the stocks rising up, and well, yeah, that was a big turnaround. We'll have to see what happens here going forward. But back to Washington, Republican Senate Leader John Braun for the state of Washington says, "I'm once again calling for a rebate on gas tax through the end of the year to give working families around the state some relief in response to our huge increases in gas prices we've seen over the last year. In particular, in the last month, and broadly, the pressures they're feeling from inflation on all kinds of things. Quote, things are pretty rough and it's pretty hard on working families, especially folks who are living either in the suburbs or in the rural areas and driving into work because that's where they can afford to live and they have to commute for work. Really everybody, right? The state's portion of gas tax is just over 49 cents. That puts them as one of the highest in the country. California's at 51 cents, going to 53 cents, I believe. And then I think the only state higher than that is Pennsylvania as well. I think they're like 56 cents or something like that. So, yeah, really high. Really high. That's why they're at 5.22 a gallon, which the average right now is around 4.50. 4.50. You can see here 4.56. Yep, 4.56. Diesel at 5.57. Yeah. Yeah, so if you're at over $5 a gallon, it's because your state taxes or other factors, you know, bring you higher than the average. Yeah, California, right? California's got those unbelievably high state taxes as well as that different blend of gasoline, which also makes it higher. So Washington State says their May revenue report came in at $428 million above projections, an ongoing trend. I believe that's just for the month of May. So this is exactly why, guys, when I show you guys this from these articles directly from news sources all over the country, states are bringing in an extra $428 million above their projections in just 1 month. And we're seeing this for almost every single state, if not every single state. I mean, each state's different, right? I mean, they're all not making the exact same amount. But I mean, you can see here this Republican leader in Washington State says every time revenue comes in higher than expected, we're in even better shape. Why don't we reconsider this? Because the state keeps doing better and better, and the people keep getting hurt more and more by higher gas prices and, frankly, higher prices on everything. The state of Oklahoma here says their state budget includes a one-time payment to help Oklahomans with inflation, but no grocery tax relief. Here's what Oklahoma Watch has to say. Republican lawmakers provided details on Tuesday on their $9.7 billion state budget plan, which included one time payments to help Oklahomans dealing with rising inflation. But notably absent from their announcement was their governor, Kevin Stitt, who is a Republican. Who is a Republican. Legislative leaders said they expect to pass the budget and send it to the governor this week. The legislature has to adjourn by May 27th, so lawmakers have built in time to consider any override attempts if he decides to veto it, which I don't know, we'll see. And the budget agreement is almost 10% higher than appropriations bills, and savings are projected to hit $2.6 billion this year. To help deal with higher inflation, the budget includes one-time payments of $75 to individuals and $150 to married couple. That inflation relief stimulus program totals $181 million. Discussions earlier in the session to eliminate the state's share of grocery sales tax, a key priority of the Democrat minorities in the House and Senate, did not make it into the final budget. The proposed budget includes nearly $700 million for a new economic development incentive package meant to attract a battery of manufacturing plant planned by Panasonic, and another $250 million in incentive to go to rural areas to help retrofit industrial parks. It also eliminates the state's sales tax on vehicles, which was implemented in 2017 during a budget shortfall. And they also put $32.5 million to eliminate the state's waiting list for services to developmentally disabled at the Department of Human Services. So there is, obviously a whole bunch of different things here in this budget. Legislative budget writers continue to fund lawsuits against the federal government to push back against what Republicans call overreach by the Biden administration. The budget plan includes another 10 million on top of the 10 million last year to fund the Reserved Power Protection Unit at the Attorney General's office. Yeah, I don't know if that's, you know, got anything that came of any substance or if that's just wasted money. But I mean, you guys can let me know your thoughts on that. Also, we had some big news recently come out from Republicans and Democrats here. Democrat Senator Jack Reed just proposed a $600 fourth stimulus check with a bill officially introduced into Congress. With inflation at a 40-year high, Food and Fuel Savings Act would give millions of Americans $600 per person, so $1,200 per married couple, and it includes children and dependents. So if you're a married couple and you have two children, you're looking at $600 per person. So four people would be $2,400. If you have four children, you're looking at and two adults. So let me see here: two adults, four children would be six people. Six times six would be $3,600. So it really depends on how many people you have. This would be the exact same amount as the second stimulus check that went out under former President Donald Trump. So this we just got wind of this, and you can see here with inflation at a 40-year high. Now they do say here that the average American household will receive around $1,500 because the average American household has 2.2 children and two adults, and that this payment should cover the additional money spent on food and fuel for the rest of 2022 if passed. Also, you can see here that the Food and Fuel Family Savings Act would give millions of Americans $600 per person, to be used only for food or gasoline, the amount of the credits or the check would be reduced for those making above $40,000. So this would be maybe a little bit more targeted than the last stimulus checks, which went out to people making up to $75,000. I don't know how quickly it would be reduced for people making over $40,000, but this does seem like it would be a little bit more targeted, so as so to kind of limit the amount of money that the federal government would spend, so that people worried about inflation here, um, they could technically send these checks out and say, hey, we sent this out to the people who needed it the most, and we really don't have to worry about inflation that much, because remember, the government's taking in a lot more money than normal right now, and we're giving a portion of this money back to the people who need it the most. People making under $40,000, people in need, people struggling to pay for food, pay for gas, pay for everything going up here in price. So let me know your thoughts here on this. We also have a Republican representative, Jim Banks, who says that we should give $1,000 to every American instead of sending the billions of dollars that we're sending over to Ukraine. Now, he is actually in the minority in the fact that the bill that just advanced in the Senate to send the $40 billion to Ukraine passed 88 to 11. So the vast majority of Republicans did vote yes for that bill. But I, the reason is, what I mean to say here is that the majority of Republicans and Democrats support sending the money to Ukraine. The important part here is that we have Republicans and Democrats also saying that we need to give money to Americans as well, because Americans are hurting as well because of inflation. Because of inflation. So there's really two separate issues, because the war with Ukraine is kind of a national security issue with them, and also kind of with America, because Putin has literally threatened the US. Here's really the one of the most recent posts here, right from the New York Post. Russia threatens nukes for the US, the UK, Finland, if NATO expands, just from a few days ago. So I mean, Russia's a threat to the US as well. Like, even Republican leader Mitch McConnell, who, is obviously a fierce opponent to the Democrats, says that we have to support Ukraine because it goes against Putin. It goes against Russia, who's a longtime enemy of the US. And it's almost like I wish that Russia wasn't an enemy to the US, but unfortunately, it's just, I don't even know what to say about Russia. Putin's just not logical, man. The good news is that we have more and more and more states sending out money, sending out stimulus checks. I just did a good video with new $500, $1,000 checks in multiple different states just passing. I have two different videos, a couple different videos with states passing stimulus checks that I'll link you to here next, if you haven't seen that, and federal stimulus checks also just being introduced here in the Senate. So I'm going to keep you up to date here with all these different things here going on here on a daily basis, as well as everything you need to know. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel down below. It's completely free to do so. And remember that new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you haven't subscribed yet, click the subscribe button down below. Like I said, completely free to do so. You can click here to see the new $500 and $1,000 stimulus checks that were just passed, and multiple different states here passing stimulus checks here as well. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.